Okay, you're very welcome along to the Ora Leisure Centre here in Letterkenny. We're going live on the radio at 1 o'clock, so we want you all to tune in. We're going to be running through, I suppose, what the expected outcome of these referenda are right now, and I suppose how the campaign was run, what went wrong, you could argue, from a government perspective. But just to give you a sense of what's going here, actually before I do that, I'll just tell you what's coming up on the programme from 1 o'clock. We have a panel. John McAteer, editor of the Tyrconnell Tribune, will be joining us. Paddy Rooney's a political analyst. Mary T. Sweeney's a candidate for Aintu in the local elections and advocated strongly, of course, for a no. And Siobhan Cullen, chair of the Women's Centre Letterkenny, who advocated a yes. Yesterday, people went to the polls, not in fantastic numbers, it had to be said, to vote on two referenda. The family and care referenda, and the second was the care amendment. Now, it does look very much like Donegal is going to return a no, which doesn't come as any surprise to me. But what does come as something of a surprise to me is the extent of the no on a national level. We are joined by Dr. Joe Kelly. Good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Greg, is the luck day check there?
It's good to have you on the show. Why did you turn up here so early?
Well, look, you know I've been on your show and I've been advocating a no. I think women, mothers, family are very important to not just me but to the ordinary everyday person in Donegal. And today's vote has been a strong no, not just in Donegal, nationwide. And it's no to the agenda that's been promoted by this government, and it's no to this government, and no means go. I think it's time for them to go.
Is it not? This is democracy in action, though, isn't it? This is
absolutely.
Yeah, but I mean, in terms of, something's put to the people, and then we decide.
Well, so I would disagree with you in so much that you're saying is democracy in action. No one political party had this on their manifesto. Not one county councillor in Donegal asked for this. This has not come from the people. This has come from an agenda-driven government. And may I say very clearly, agenda-driven government by two men, Leo Varadkar and Rodrigo Gorman, who happen to be gay and are happen to push a transgender agenda. And it's very clear that Ross Flanagan, who is Attorney General, in his letter, his 10-page detailed letter on the 8th of December to Rodrigo Gorman and to the other leaders of the parties, stated clearly that this was their effort to get over the gender issue, and he highly warned them to not go in this direction, and it would lead to a constitutional challenge and could invalidate the result had it been a yes.
But people were not voting on what you're saying there, and some would say it's a bit of an overreach. And some people might say the language should be more inclusive, but they didn't like the wording as it was, right? So I don't think you can really conclude that this is a rejection of transgenderism.
I think it's an issue that we were saying very clearly here, I think, by the no vote, is that mothers, family and women are important to the people of Ireland, very, very clearly, and that we're tired of an agenda that is trying to destabilise family, women and mothers. Today, the no vote today is really a vote where mothers have found their voice, where women of Ireland have found their authentic voice. And don't be peddling this idea and that this is what they're going to tell us now, the government, that we give the people a choice. How many millions were used to promote this referendum? Just think of at least 3 months of dial time was wasted on this agenda. At least millions of pounds of taxpayers' money was wasted on the legal requirements to go through the referendum and the Attorney General, when we should have been dealing with the real issues of our country, the real issues that affect women, the real issues that affect carers, the real issues that affect families, the things that they were trying to take out of the Constitution was what they should have been working at to look after, and then all those months of dial time, all those millions of taxpayers' money.
The debate ended up being about Mother's Day, taking mother out of the Constitution as we approach Mother's Day and what have you. The arguments were very, I don't know, there was not an awful lot of conversation between both sides, really. It seemed to come down on very strict lines. I don't think we as a people had a fantastic debate on it, but the point I was going to say is that the care language was more inclusive, to recognise that there are different forms of care. I think the problem people had was that the government would strive to support carers, right, and that it was confined to the family, that it wasn't broad enough. And also, too, it was a bit of a misnomer to say that this was taking women out of the Constitution. It was removing the word mother, but just being more inclusive to take account of the different families that live in this country now, Joe. It's a tide that can't be turned.
Look, I live in the real world, Greg. I'm a teacher, and I teach children coming from diverse backgrounds, cultures, family situations, and I don't accept your analogy. The word mother is only once in the Constitution. And the one time it's in the Constitution, this is what they picked on to take out and to try to replace it with something else. If the government were sincere, and as I said before in my debates on your radio, you don't build rights by taking away somebody else's rights. We can have a more inclusive constitution by including people. We can have a more inclusive society by including them, but it doesn't mean Leo Varadkar and Rodrigo Gorman's understanding of inclusivity means
But
to
it wasn't-
exclude.
Yes, I know, but
My understanding
it
of
wasn't,
let me
you're
finish.
focusing on them and their sexuality.
No, I'm
okay?
not. No.
It was literally one of the first comments you made.
What I'm focusing on is how they are willing to sacrifice mothers, women, and family to their agenda. And what I'm saying is that has to stop.
Yes.
Leo, your agenda has to stop. We, the people of Ireland, have spoken today, and we are keeping our mothers, we are keeping women, and we are keeping family in our constitution. By all means, we can have inclusion, but not inclusion by your definition, by excluding us. We're not letting you exclude us. And the next general election will be another litmus test to put this government. The government must go, and go now.
You say that, but the main opposition party, Sinn Féin, advocated for yes.
Yes.
They also said that if the country sent back a no,
Yes.
that they would rejig the wording and go back to the public again.
And Mary Lou has seemingly restated that this morning. Let it be very clear. Sinn Féin, 100 years ago, didn't listen to the people and look at the turmoil it created. It created a civil war. The people have said no. And good luck to them.
Do you think this points to actually, and I think as other things are put to the people, does this highlight what many of us really suspected or knew, that there is a big detachment between the population and politics, not a particular party or whatever, but actually as a whole, that they don't really get the mood of the people?
I think, Greg, you've hit the nail on the head. The fact today, now I would like to think that when I vote, that my TD represents me. And today, I haven't seen one of the Donegal TDs here. Are they saying that they don't want the no voter vote? I mean, they're meant to represent everybody, whether they agree or disagree with us. But today has been a no vote, and we have seen glaringly there is no presence by the Yes campaign here today. They seem to think that they can talk down to us, tell us what we should do, and yet when we give them an alternative that we believe in, they just shut us down, they ignore us.
Did part of you feel a low turnout would favour yes? I think there was a lot of people I spoke to that were uncertain. If in doubt, vote no, but then they weren't necessarily going to bother voting, right? So I naively perhaps thought that a low turnout would favour yes. But it turns out a relatively low.
Well,
it's the no-nos that were.
Yeah,
were
history has
motivated.
shown, Greg, if you look in Donegal, and maybe John McIntyre can clarify this a lot further than I can, but I know from my own experience and limited years back in politics, understanding politics, that a low turnout in Donegal means a no. Lisbon, Nice.
But I mean more nationally, because funny enough, the turnout I hear is actually relatively high.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah,
know,
yeah.
contradicting myself a little bit, but nationally,
Hey.
I just thought yeses would be more inclined, more motivated.
Well, again, I think it's back down to the three words, Greg: mother, women, and family. And those people that were motivated to keep those words in the Constitution went out to vote. And the other thing is, which is very, very important, Greg, and this goes back to what the politicians not listening. The fact that people didn't go out to vote shows that this wasn't on their Richter scale of importance. The real issues and the time that the dial has wasted, and Leo Varadkar, as Taoiseach, has wasted on this, none asked for, not in any manifesto.
It's funny you should say that, because yesterday on the programme we were discussing really one of the first inroads into a referendum on assisted dying.
Yeah.
And the point I was trying to make, and it's funny you should say it in relation to this, I don't know anyone that's come to me and said we need to have this national conversation. I understand why people might be motivated to have it, and we're not going to have it now because we don't have the time. But it is another question that's going to be put to the people, and it is probably not a hot topic, a little bit like this one.
Yeah, but the thing, it's a type of question they're going to put. And the manner of the question that they're going to put, we don't know that. Absolutely, it's a debate that we should have in any modern civilized society. And in fact, everything should be on a table politically. You should not be afraid to talk about anything, even if you disagree. I think I'm a liberal enough person that I'm willing to entertain other people's views. That doesn't mean to say that I have to accept them. You see, the kind of liberalism we have today is it's only my kind of liberalism. My understanding of liberalism should be that you're willing to engage and listen to everybody's side. But what we've seen today by the lack of political representation here in this centre today is that we have a liberal TDs in this county, but it's their kind of liberalism. And they're more or less saying to everybody that voted no here today, we really don't care whether you voted no or not, because we're not here, we're not accepting.
But they might turn up later.
Well, they may very well, but the fact that there's no presence at the moment would seem to say very clearly that they're going to have their way, and we, the people, don't have a voice.
As far as I'm aware, Aintu are the only party tallying here.
Seems to be, and again, that says a lot. I'm campaigning independently. I'm delighted to have been in touch with Sharon Keoghan, who's the senator as well, and the great work she has done. I know what Michael McDowell has been doing, Catherine Connolly. These are people that I may not necessarily agree with in all their policies and political ideologies.
But you are becoming one with some of the names that you mentioned, and there have been guests on the programme, I'm not saying that, but you are... I'm sort of starting to get a better understanding of your political allegiance here.
Yeah. Well, there's no such thing as political allegiance in that sense. I have values and I have beliefs, and everybody else around me has values and beliefs, and I'm willing to argue and fight for my values and as much as somebody else. And there are people that totally disagree with me on certain things but would agree with me on other things. And I think that I'm open enough and intelligent enough and welcoming enough to have an understanding of other people's opinions. And today the opinion is very, very clear. The mothers of Ireland have found their authentic voice. They've said no, and this government should go. I think it's very, very clear.
That's how you'll frame it. Others will frame it differently. But anyway, listen, that's why we have an open platform and a democracy. Thank you very much.
Exactly, and thank you, Guru Mahigat.
Take care of yourself, Joe. We might touch base a little later. On. Okay, that was just a sample of some of the conversation that's going to be coming up for you. That was a digital first, so to speak, in that we aren't broadcasting on the radio yet. We will be live on Highland Radio just after the 1 o'clock news. We'll hear from other guests as well. But if you want to text or message in the show, you can do so right now, and we can carry those onto the live show, the live broadcast show. 086 60 25,000, that's the WhatsApp and text. 086 60 25,000, or give us a call on 074 91 25,000. And for those of you who maybe don't really know what goes on at these type of events, here we have I don't know how many, a few dozen people, and they are counting. Those tables you see in front of you, they're each given a bundle of white and green sheets where each question was asked as it relates to the referenda. And it's quite a simple process in this occasion, because it's a simple yes or no. So they can put yeses in one pile, no's in the other. They're making great progress here. I don't think it's going to be particularly late, but as you can see, there is not many people on this side of the fence. If this was a general election or a local election, there'd be people along all of these railings here, but there's no one here really. Very few from parties, very few members of the general public. But anyway, that's just to give you a sense of what's going on here. This is live at the moment if you are watching us live. Just to recap one more time, we're going live on Highland Radio just after the 1 o'clock news. We're going to be streaming it, of course, here live from the Oral Leisure Centre. For those of you on social media, we're on X. We're on YouTube, Highland Radio Ireland. Just to remind you, on YouTube you can cast us, or you can watch us on your smart TV or your Fire Stick. Just type in Highland Radio on that app and watch us there. And we're also on Facebook. But if you're leaving the house, or you've got business to do, or you're heading shopping, we are on the radio, of course, just after 1 o'clock. We have joining us on our panel, John McAteer, editor of the Tyrconnell Tribune newspaper, Paddy Rooney, a political analyst, of course, Mary T. Sweeney, who's a candidate for Aintu in the local elections. She advocated for a no-no. And also we've got Siobhan Cullen, chair of the Women's Centre, Letterkenny, who also advocated for a yes. But the headline coming from the Oral Leisure Centre here is not a bad turnout. We'll give you some facts and figures after one, but it's going to be a no-no, and it's going to be a resounding no-no. Perhaps not as... the gap maybe not quite as broad. We're still working through the figures nationally. It is a no-no. Eamon Ryan has conceded that, and other senior members of the government as well. So we're going to find out what went wrong or what went right, depending on your point of view. But for me, Greg Hughes, and the team here live at the Oral Leisure Centre, we're back with you live again just after 1 o'clock.